Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well. You amazing, amazing people, you. You're looking absolutely fabulous today. Must have been yesterday in that midweek hump. And those of you who joined me on the live last night, thank you very much as well. I'm doing this video today because it was spurned on from a comment from a Carl J, which I'm going to read the top section of his comment. But I think it's the same thoughts that many of us have. And it's perhaps something that a lot of us have forgotten about with respect to the Idaho 4 case. And yes, before you ask, we are going to be covering some other cases in upcoming videos. And it was actually planned for today, but this I felt important because it's almost like a bit of a contradiction as we ask ourselves certain questions and then we ask ourselves, does that sound like the Bryan that we've seen? Does it sound like the Bryan that people are trying to push? And when I talk about contradictions, I'm talking about you can't, again, have your cake and eat it. You can't say someone is a specific type of person, but then they don't display what you would expect that person to do. And what I mean by that is you can't say someone is narcissistic, for instance, or they want the limelight, they want everyone to see, but then they try and hide. They hide behind gag orders. They hide behind, no cameras in the courtroom, for instance. But anyway, let me read this comment. I won't read it all, but this crime stupidity screams a lack of emotional control, which I think many people would perhaps agree with. I've seen it in the comments. This was rage-filled. This was someone out of control. This is even the manner with which these poor victims lost their lives kind of reflects that to a degree. So it's an anger, an absolute anger, an abundance of. If you're willing to drive your own vehicle to the crime scene, use a knife you purchased online, allow your phone to get pinged near the area, and choose to do it on a high-risk, busy night, such as a Saturday, with the probability of being caught and probability of unknown people in the house being tremendous, which again I think would agree, then you're seemingly wanting to be heard. BK came off as none of this and never accepted the accusations against him. I would imagine the person responsible for this would relish in what they did because it was justify their release of the intense emotional disturbance they had and what risk they were willing to take. And again, it was a longer comment, and let me just thank who that was again. That was Carl J. So thank you, Carl J. I did put a response to that comment saying that I would be speaking on this exact point today. And look, I think Carl raises some very, very valid points there because we see Bryan Kohberger had seemingly agreed or allowed his defense attorney to allow him to stand silent, to say that they didn't want cameras in the courtroom, and I think to myself, would Bryan Kohberger, if he was this wanting the limelight, wanting to be front and center, wouldn't he want cameras in the courtroom? He would indeed be relishing in it, wouldn't he? There is an air about him that almost comes across as arrogance, but we do know that there is a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And again, maybe that's what we struggle with. We struggle to determine whether he is being arrogant or whether he is simply being confident. But then I think to myself, it's dangerous because if he is confident, then surely the only way for him to be confident is to know in the back of his mind that everything's going to be okay. Now, if he hasn't got an alibi, which seemingly he doesn't. In fact, his alibi was simply that he was driving around that night. And if he hasn't, for instance, got an explanation as to how the DNA got on the knife sheath, then then he has a problem. Even if he didn't do it, I think we can all agree he's got a massive fucking problem. And I, if I was in his position, from again what I see in the public eye, I would not be displaying that confidence. And it's that confidence that worries and concerns me, because I look at it like you are straddling that line between confidence and arrogance. And I want you to let me know down below, do you think that Bryan Kohberger is confident, or is he arrogant? But again, like the points raised in this comment, the crime itself stinks. It stinks of someone who was incredibly angry with these people in this house. These poor victims that lost their lives, it came across as like a rage-filled crime. And again, the other argument is it wasn't. It was very methodical. It was a very methodical crime made to look a specific way. And again, when you start looking down that avenue, that leads you into other directions, and directions that we have touched on in the past. Certainly with regards to how the person who did this managed to do it in the time frame with which we are being pushed was the time frame. But again, that only ties in the white Hyundai Elantra. But is it conditioning that we have been conditioned to believe the person who did this drove the white Hyundai Elantra and it happened at this specific time? Or was that car nothing to do with it? Or was the killer indeed driving a white Hyundai Elantra and it was indeed either Bryan or it wasn't? It was the car, but not necessarily the correct driver at the correct time. So many questions. And this is why I feel that it is paramount to wait until the trial before we condemn either way. Because, and I say this time and time again, even though I am open to the possibility of Bryan Kohberger being guilty, I just haven't seen enough. And I would challenge any single person, anybody who says that they have indeed seen enough, and in their mind, the evidence that has been put out there is enough to convict this guy of the murder of these 4 victims. I don't see it. I can't. And when I do look at Bryan in the minute detail that we get, obviously we don't know Bryan. We don't know who Bryan is. We don't know anything about him. All we hear is what media pushes out there and what you see in the small interactions in the courtroom. But again, as aforementioned, I purely see someone who comes across as confident. And do I see somebody, when I look at Bryan, who did this crime in the manner with which we are being pushed that it was done? So he buys a knife online on Amazon. He decides to get up and follow, or is followed by a DoorDash, Taco Bell delivery, whatever it is. And he's followed into a small town with cameras, where he proceeds to then drive his own vehicle around this area. Oh, and by the way, he keeps his phone on him, but he switches it off or puts it into airplane mode. That makes it look even more fucking shady. And then he strolls into a house that's got an abundance of unknown cars. He doesn't know who they are. One of them cars is new to the owner. So it would have never been seen there before. So totally alien. On a night that was a football night, a Saturday night where Davis University had come in and they had played football. So there would have been drinks flowing. There could have been other stuff flowing. And that house was renowned for being a party house and being filled with people, and sometimes not even the people who lived there. But this person, he decided to do that all on this night. But then once that crime is done, once he's taken all them risks and done it so blatantly, showing an element of skill that, again, I can't see that he possesses, he then decides that he doesn't want the limelight. He doesn't want it at all. He wants everything done behind closed doors. Doesn't even acknowledge the fact that he's been there, done it, anything. Washes his hands of it. But shows a confidence that, again, straddles between confidence and arrogance. Neither of which, if you take what is out in the public arena, without explanation, wouldn't go hand in hand with confidence. So what would make him arrogant? Does he just think he's going to get off it? But if all of you people out there who believe that there is an abundance of evidence waiting to spring out and trap him, he should know that by now. And let's not forget, if he is guilty of this crime, then he knows what they know, and he knows the relevance to what they know, and he knows the accuracy of what they know. So if he knows that someone said that they saw him, he will know, because he will know what he was wearing. He will know what he had on him. He will know how he entered, how he left. He will know that he was driving his own car. So all of these things that he will know is accurate. So how the hell is he going to explain it away and still be as confident or arrogant? Let me know down below, and I'll catch you all in video 2 later.